welcome to this week's Food Sports Central, the podcast of the World Food Championships. I am your host, Mark Conway, and this week I'm not joined by Mike McCloud. He is, of course, in light speed mode, trying to get things ready for Final Table, which is going to be upon us before we can even blink. And the fact that categories for the 10th anniversary World Food Championships in Dallas are closing out in record pace. So what we wanted to do is kind of touch base with the 10 people that will be competing at Final Table and see how World Foods was for them this year in Dallas, or actually this previous year in Dallas, and then getting ready. What is their prep? What are the things that they're doing getting ready for the big show? So my first guest won a brand new category this year, and that category was soup. Had not been competed in before, had not even been kind of on even something really somebody had turned in previous years. And so they brought out soup, and a longtime competitor, one of the original competitors for the World Food Championships, ran right through the competition and won the soup category. I welcome to the show, Miss LoriMclain.
Howdy.
Hey, how are you doing?
Alive and kicking. Thank you very much. And hope everybody is the same.
That's pretty outstanding. So you won the inaugural soup category.
Yeah, inaugural. That's right.
You know, and that was the 9th year of the World Food Championships, first year that they had soup introduced, and that was your category this year. So in the 9th annual event, you decided, I'm going to go towards soup. What made you choose the soup category?
Well, I think what happened actually is in order to qualify for the soup category, I was in the chili, which was replaced by the soup category, and was in the top 10 of the chili category the year before. So that's how I got in soup. And I thought, okay, I'll stay in soup. I eat soup. We all eat soup. And a lot of things go through your mind when it's a new category. It's like, okay. And plus, we had this X factor, that if you made it to the top 10, you were going to have to do something to make it whoop-de-doo,
right.
So, and whoop-de-doo soup is something that you have to think about a little bit. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of thinking, and it ends up going back to what you like. Usually it's what happens to me is it goes back to what I like, my flavors that I like and would serve my family, which is my husband. That's all I got. So, but it was interesting.
What did you had, so for people who haven't necessarily seen the World Food Championships, when you first get there in the first round, you do 2 different dishes. You have a structured dish and you have a signature dish. So what did you make for those first 2 dishes?
Okay, for the structured dish, we I believe we were all making a chowder.
Right.
And so I thought, well, you go through the testing phase in your own kitchen and you go, okay, I like this. And my husband's going, well, I like this, but I don't like that. And I went back to stuff I like, which is smoked sausage and green chilies and a corn and potato chowder with the smoked sausage because it's more of a homey thing. And then I also took some of that chowder and made, I don't think people realize that the corn fritter balls that I served with that chowder actually had the chowder in them. So that's what I did for that round. And then the signature dish, I decided to go with, I wasn't sure what to do and decided, oh, what the heck, I'll do a burger, like a burger soup, bacon cheeseburger soup. So I did that and then did some fried pickles on the top of that. And I made it through, but I was in the 8th position for the top 10. So then you have to go back to your hotel room after you've made it in the top 10. And I was thrilled to get in the top 10 because I thought, okay, this is going to be a difficult category. But then you go back and you make sure you get your recipe on time and get some little nuances down so that you're ready to cook for the top 10. And it came out okay. So
That absolutely did. So what did you do for the X Factor?
for the X Factor, people make fun of me. I'm a home cook, but I have cooked in a microwave for so long that I think I have it down to an art form. And I have a giant one at home. I mean, it's a high powered sucker and have blown out many of those. But so I found a pressure cooker that's a microwave pressure cooker. And so I cooked the pork, which would normally take a longer period of time to cook, and use the pressure cooker in the microwave, and use, the microwaves do their thing. And it worked real well for me. And the pork came out nice and tender. And then that went into the soup, and it was infused with vanilla bean, which we all had to use.
Right.
That was the thing that we had to use. And ale. So I had a vanilla bean ale infused spicy pork vegetable soup that had green chilies in it and lots of vegetables. And it wasn't the prettiest one of the soups, I know, but it had some flavor, I think. So,
well, apparently so. You won the category coming from the 8th position, which that's a significant jump to go into the final 10 round in 8th and then come out on top, winning the category. And I'm telling you, a lot of people that, they didn't realize things like vanilla bean was the infusion. That is a difficult product to maneuver into a savory dish, especially something like soup, because it can be so overpowering to the entire dish.
It's kind of like lavender.
Right.
I think that lavender can just go, but we had a lot of mishaps in my testing with the vanilla bean, but then I got thinking, I drink vanilla ale. If I don't drink a whole lot, but when I want one that's kind of good. And I do like a vanilla ale, and I like it kind of stout. And so I thought, okay, well, we'll kind of infuse both things into the pork and add my favorite spicy things that made it my secret things into the broth, so that the broth was kind of really what was selling that soup. It's what I prefer kind of a clearer broth if it's for me.
Right.
So that's what I did, was make what I would eat, and that's what ended up with. So
now when you talk about the first round, those two dishes, you've turned your recipes in far early. And that's another thing. When you're competing at the World Food Championships, you have to turn your recipes in early, because the way the judging works is you're judged against the execution of your dish. It's not like, oh, I tasted this one, I like this one better. It is an exact science. There is a certification class that goes involved, and you're literally being judged against your own recipe. So going into the first round, you have a lot of time to prepare and write that recipe and send it in, because you're leading up to it all year. But when you go to the top 10 round, you literally come out of winning, and then typically about 48 hours later, you're cooking. So you really don't have much time to really hone in on what that top 10 round dish is going to be before you're already having to turn in your recipe.
Right. I really hadn't planned. I really didn't know. This year I thought, I'm the Susan Lucci of I've been in the World Food Championships every darn year. And I thought, I'm never going to get to go up on stage with Mike and shake his hand and go, yay, I won a category. But with me, I just have to keep trying. It may take me 12 years, but oh well, So, but with the top 10, that's true. You end up with a recipe that you're not sure exactly how you're going to hone it at the end, but you have to make sure that you get it in exactly right, and that your description is such that you will execute it as to the way you said you were going to execute it, so that it matches the description. And there is a science to writing a recipe. Things have to be in order. I mean, I always tell people to teach their kids how to cook because it's math, science, reading, writing, it's all of that, and they enjoy it. And I think that's another thing about COVID. I believe that this year it's helping food sport because everybody got into cooking at home with their families and watching food sport on TV of different kinds. And so I think that even though COVID is a nasty thing, that some things like families getting together and cooking and stuff has helped, you know. So
It definitely is.
but I think there's an excitement for food sport now that Mike has sure grown WFC from that little place. Well, it wasn't little in Vegas when it started, but man, was that fun. I had never been to anything like that, and that was so much fun. But I mean, every year it's something new. He comes up with something better and something new. And
So what got you to compete that first year? Because that's the other thing, guys. If you haven't realized this, Lori has been competing every single year. This was the 9th year in Dallas, or this is the 9th year, and we were in Dallas. And Lori's been there all 9 years. There is not a lot of competitors that have been there all 9 years, and that has a lot to do with the growth of food sports. So you have a lot of new competitors from year to year. What is probably the biggest difference from year 1 to year 9 that you've seen?
I think the biggest difference is the organization and the thought that goes into. I mean, there's they have their meetings and they're thinking of these things that are going to make it the biggest event in the world for food sport. Mm-hmm. And I think that Mike and his team have accomplished that every year. They go above and beyond. It's like they've X-factored themselves every year into bigger and better and tighter the sweater, whatever that saying is, And I think this coming up year is from the hints that we're getting what will happen. Right. It's going to be all different. And it's very scary to someone like me who has competed from the beginning when it was just like, okay, well, I got interested in the first year through a cooking website called Just a Pinch. And I actually won, a qualification through them and cooked through them. But things have really changed. But I've met so many competitors that have influenced me with the way they carry themselves and the way they win and the way they cook and present. That's the thing I don't want to copy them exactly. You don't want to do that, but you want to take all your friends and think, my God, look at the talent that is all going on at this thing. And there are so many people from all over the world coming to this thing that it just blows your mind. And this year, when we saw those banners hanging with all their names on it, I mean, that was like being at the NCAA tournament or something,
It was pretty epic. So, it was pretty epic to walk down.
Yeah, it was. It was epic.
So in year 9, you do soup. In year 8, you were obviously in chili. What other categories have you competed in?
I started in sandwich in 2012 and did that for, I think, 3 years. And then I qualified for the recipe category, which was kind of they still have recipe. And it was, I think I did that a couple of years too. Now I had a couple of loser years and made it to the top 10 for 7 years, I think. So, but man, you got, it's blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm real competitive, but it's like, well, okay, so.
Absolutely.
And but I love the eat, the way they, and competitors should take that class. Yep. Take the judging class, because then you'll understand what they're doing when they go in there to judge you, and you can think yourself through what's going to get to them or what might get to them. So
that's very true. So walking in now, you kind of go backwards in your mind a little bit. You're walking into your 9th year. You were talking about how you were wondering when you'd ever get to cross that stage, get that big foam check from Mike, shake his hand, and celebrate winning a category. Did anything feel different to you this year, going into your 9th year, going into a brand new category? Was there anything that just felt different, like this is your year?
I think that for me, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but I have a big faith. And, I had faith and I had hope and I wasn't going to give up. And I pray a lot over anything, everything, and I cuss and God knows it. But I had a faith that please just be with me and let me get through this. And I was surprised at getting to the top 10. I really was, because I was very intimidated. When you see people coming into your category and you can see who's dropping in and you go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this person is in and this person is in. But when I got into it and started competing, it was just my husband and me. My husband doesn't really cook, but you can give him tasks and he can get it done, so, and I wouldn't want anybody else in there because I really appreciate everything he does for me. But anyway, when we were in there, it just seemed like things were just moving along and I wasn't worried anymore. I really didn't even care what anybody else was doing. I just was doing my thing and let it go, for the top 10. So I really wasn't expecting to be in that. So, and certainly wasn't expecting to be in the top 5 and then the top 3 and then the top 2. And by God, that Rocky, is he not? Rocky Julianelle is such a great guy. And he's about the size of my husband. So thank God I could hang on to him. But
so
it just was something else.
So I always wonder about when people get the foam checks. Do you have your big foam check hanging somewhere?
Well, it's downstairs and it is hanging in the foyer, so that people, if they come in,
right from the start. I like it. That's pretty great. Now, as we move in, because the next thing on your plate is going to final table, and final table has rapidly evolved over the years, just like World Food Championships has. So my first question, before we get too much into final table, is how is your fishing skills?
Okay, I have no fishing skills, but I have taken a lesson.
Yep.
And Denton is in North Texas, and they have a great parks department that stocks the little ponds, and they had some little classes. So I thought, well, I better get my butt out there. Texas has tomorrow we'll have 80-degree weather. Today we're having 40-degree, it's like that. So, and I caught some, but that was in a pond. So,
but it's a start.
Yeah, but I weigh like 90 pounds and under, and I'm going to go, okay, am I going to catch a big bass fish that weighs more than I do? Okay. So getting that in the boat might be interesting, but there's other stuff out there in them waters in South Carolina. So
I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that part plays out. And that is really just one of the challenges you'll face at Final Table. There's going to be recreating dishes that you taste. This is truly, I think, the format where you find out who's the best in the world when it comes to this top 10 round going into Final Table. Have you had a lot of communication from WFC about what to expect, or is it still a lot of mystery?
Well, there's a lot of mystery, but we have been contacted, and we are going to have some meetings, Zoom meetings, coming up the first part of March. So then we'll get a little more information before we go. And I'm just ready for surprises, because you just, I don't know.
You have to be ready.
I don't want to fall off a boat, but I know I can swim. I was a lifeguard, so I think I'll be okay in that department in case I do fall in, but whatever. Maybe I can wrangle a bass, kind of like an alligator. Maybe I can wrangle an alligator. I don't know.
I think it'll be fun.
But I don't know. Well, like I said, you don't know what's in the swamp, so whatever. But that's a beautiful lake, so I don't think there's swamp involved.
What kind of practice or what are you doing to kind of prepare yourself to be at Final Table?
well, for me, I'm a home cook,
Mm-hmm.
so everything is going to be just like I usually cook, but I do some, I'm not stupid. I look in books and look up, you do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
investigation and to see what kind of food is generally those people cook. And so it'll be interesting to see. There's so many different kinds of food. I mean, that's an up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia is a college town. Go Gamecocks! And I think my husband has a T-shirt with that on it. But anyway, um, so many different things that could possibly come into play. So I just want to be ready for everything, and I am just thinking up things in my mind that might happen, and of course getting myself all jazzed up for whatever. And it'll be something completely different once I find out.
Right.
But
They usually have
but I
something.
think
They have something up their sleeve.
you have to make it. Yeah, you have to make an educated
That's right.
guess as to what might happen, and then go from there. So be ready.
I think you do. You have to be ready for everything, and I think that's part of being in this position because we're going to find out who the champion of the World Food Championships is, the 9th annual event. So it's got to be the best of the best tests. It's got to be the biggest challenges, and all of us are anxiously awaiting seeing what's going to happen there. I mean, it's when you go there, you start off with 300 to 400, even closing in on 500 people all competing. And to know that they, at the end of the conclusion of that weekend, at the end of Monday and Tuesday, you walked out of there as the champion in a category, not only one of the top 10 categories, but a category no one else had won before. That was wildly talked about. And soup is one of those things to me that is so easy to be one note. It is so easy for everything, like tomato soup. It tastes like tomato. But there are so many intricacies that go into making something like soup have those complexities. That's what I think, and winning a category like that, I think really helps you going forward into final table because you took a category that's very difficult to delineate flavor and to build something memorable, and you were able to do that through your processes of cooking the things that you like to cook at home. So I think at final table, I think you're positioning yourself well. I too am anxiously awaiting to find out what all of these different challenges are going to be. And if you have you talked to any of the other top 10 competitors?
No, I just watch them on their Facebook doing their wild winnings and stuff. I'm very proud of all of them. And I am the oldest one of the bunch. So I feel like I'm their mother or their aunt or something. But, they're wildly talented.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of them all. And I'm proud of myself for getting there. But I, I'm probably more anticipating what's going to be said and what's going to happen than you might be, but I'm scared. But that sometimes helps people to be a little scared and a little afraid. It gives you something to go for, and I'm I'm scared, but I'm not afraid. I may have to take out a 900-pound person, but anyway, I guess I have a slingshot with me just in case. So,
well, I tell you guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you're following the World Food Championships on Instagram and on Facebook. That's where you're going to find a lot of your quickest updates, more information about the events that are upcoming. You're going to find out about the final table, what the competitions are going to be. You're also going to keep up with what's going on with the 10th anniversary event that will once again take place in Dallas with major, major changes, major new exciting developments. And then also you can keep up on the worldfoodchampionships.com website. Make sure you bookmark that page because there are incredible deadlines that are coming up if you too want to compete in the 10th annual event. So don't forget social media, World Food Championships, and then website, worldfoodchampionships.com, because we are coming up within, it feels like now we're in weeks countdown to final table. And I tell you, Lori, it is exciting. I'm so happy for you. It was fantastic to stand on that stage and watch your name get called.
Thank you so much. I cried like a baby, but thank you so much. And thank you for having me on the show today. This was fun.
You're welcome.
So,
well, guys, that has been another week of foodsportscentral.com. This was our very first one with video, so I hope you enjoyed it. We're looking forward to doing more of that. And again, sharing is caring. So share out the podcast on all of your favorite platforms. That's Food Sports Central. And then follow on social media. Lori, thank you again for stopping in today.
Thanks, Mark.
And guys, we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.